Zsófia stood before an audience for the first time at 28. There was something in her voice that touched everyone's heart. Such purity, such pain that only someone who had truly suffered could feel. But what no one knew was that Zsófia's voice didn't just carry suffering. It carried a night from 18 years ago when everything changed. Zsófia grew up in a Christian family in Debrecen. Her father, Ferenc, was a pastor at the local Baptist congregation, and her mother, Erzsébet, was the church choir leader. Zsófia had been singing in church since childhood, and everyone knew she had a special talent. By age 8, she sang hymns so beautifully that even adults would break into tears. But there was something in Zsófia's life that no one saw, something she herself tried to forget for years. At 10 years old, Zsófia witnessed her father abusing her mother. It didn't happen just once. Pastor Ferenc preached about love and forgiveness during the day, then came home drunk at night and beat his wife. Zsófia heard Erzsébet's crying from her room. She saw the bruises on her mother's face that she tried to cover with powder on Sundays at church. Zsófia never spoke about this to anyone, not even to her best friend. She thought if she said it out loud, things would get even worse. Instead, she sang. She poured all her pain, all her anger into her singing. And everyone only saw how beautifully God had blessed this little girl with her voice. When Zsófia turned 13, Pastor Ferenc left the family. He simply disappeared one night. He left no message, said no goodbye. The next morning, Erzsébet found Zsófia sitting in the kitchen, staring ahead. She wasn't crying, wasn't speaking, just sitting. The congregation was told that Pastor Ferenc had gone elsewhere to serve at God's calling. No one knew the truth. No one asked why Erzsébet always had bruises on her face. No one noticed how Zsófia changed after that. From age 13, Zsófia began singing differently. Something bitter appeared in her voice, a pain that wasn't natural in a child. But everyone just said how deep her singing is. No one asked where this depth came from. In high school, Zsófia no longer sang only in church. She enrolled in the local arts school and began seriously pursuing singing. Her teachers said she had exceptional talent. She could sing with a sensitivity rare even in adults. But Zsófia didn't live only from singing. At 16, she started working at a local cafe to help her mother. Erzsébet worked for a cleaning company, but her salary was barely enough to survive. Pastor Ferenc never sent money, never contacted them. At the cafe, Zsófia met Péter, a 22-year-old university student who regularly studied there. Péter was kind, attentive, and treated Zsófia like no one ever had before. He didn't yell at her, didn't raise his hand to her, didn't get drunk in the evenings. Zsófia and Péter's relationship quickly became serious. Péter was the first person to whom Zsófia told what happened at home when she was little. Péter listened, hugged her, and told her that no one would ever hurt her again. Zsófia married Péter at 18. They had a small wedding with only the closest family and friends. Erzsébet cried with joy. She said she finally saw her daughter smile. But the marriage didn't turn out as Zsófia had imagined. Péter changed after the wedding. He started drinking. First just 1 or 2 beers with dinner, then more and more. When Zsófia asked him why he drank, Péter said his job was stressful. He said he needed something to help him relax. Zsófia believed him. She thought all men drink sometimes, and that was normal. She thought as long as Péter wasn't like her father, everything was fine. Péter never hit Zsófia, never yelled at her. But there was something else he did that was much worse. Péter began controlling every small detail of Zsófia's life. He told her what to wear, what to eat, who to talk to. When Zsófia sang at home, Péter said it was too loud. When Zsófia wanted to go to church, Peter said she should stay home with him instead. Gradually, Zsófia lost all her connections. She no longer went to art school. She no longer sang in church. She even saw her mother less often. Peter always found a reason why she shouldn't leave home. Zsófia lived like this for 5 years. For 5 years, she thought this was normal. For 5 years, she believed Peter when he said he did this because he loved her and wanted to protect her. Zsófia didn't know that what was happening to her was also abuse, because no one hit her, no one yelled at her, but slowly she lost herself. At 23, Zsófia realized she was pregnant. When she told Peter, he was happy at first. He said it was wonderful, and they would be a good family. But then he began controlling every small detail even more. He told Zsófia that during pregnancy she shouldn't stress, so she should leave home even less often. During her pregnancy, Zsófia was completely alone. Peter worked every day, and when he came home, he was tired. Zsófia sat alone at home all day thinking. For the first time in years, she had time to think about what was really happening to her. And Zsófia realized something. Zsófia realized that the same thing was happening to her that had happened to her mother. In a different form, but the same thing. Her father had hit. Peter didn't. Her father had yelled. Peter didn't. But both had taken away her mother's and her freedom. Both had forced them to lose themselves. In the 7th month of her pregnancy, Zsófia decided she had to leave Peter. This wasn't an easy decision. Zsófia knew it would be difficult as a single mother. She knew that without money, without work, it would be hard to start a new life. But she also knew she didn't want her child to grow up the way she had grown up. One evening when Peter was at work, Zsófia packed her belongings. She didn't take much, just the most necessary clothes and her old songbooks that she had kept from childhood. Then she went to her mother's. Erzsébet asked nothing when she saw her daughter with the packages. She just hugged her and said, "Come, I'll make tea." That evening, Zsófia told her mother everything. She told her what Peter had done to her for 5 years. She told her how similar it was to what had happened at home when she was little. And she also said how sorry she was that she had never talked about it before. Erzsébet cried when she listened to Zsófia's story. And then she said something that Zsófia had never known. Erzsébet told Zsófia that she had also tried to leave Pastor Ferenc. Many times she had tried, but she always went back because she didn't know how to live alone with a little girl. She always thought a bad husband was better than nothing at all. Erzsébet told Zsófia that she was proud of her for not making the same mistake she had. Proud of her for being brave enough to leave. Zsófia's son, Martin, was born 2 weeks later. He was a perfect, healthy little boy. Zsófia felt that with Martin, her new life was also born. The first months were difficult for Zsófia. Peter tried to contact her several times. He called her, sent messages, even went to Erzsébet's house once. But Zsófia didn't let him near. Then Peter disappeared from their lives. He never paid child support, never asked how Martin was, as if he had never existed. Initially, Zsófia was angry at Peter, but over time she realized that anger only destroyed her from within. Instead, she began to focus on being a good mother to Martin and finding herself again. And Zsófia started singing again. First, she only sang at home, to Martin. Then she began going to church again and joined the choir. People marveled at how beautifully she sang. They said there was something new in her voice, some new depth, some new strength. When Zsófia was 25, a local musician heard her singing in church. His name was György, and he ran a small record label in Budapest. He told Zsófia he would like her to record some songs. If you don't want to miss stories like this, subscribe to the channel. We bring new, shocking cases every week. Zsófia was initially afraid of the idea. She had never thought she could be a professional singer. But György told her there was something special in her voice that people needed to hear. Zsófia decided to try. She recorded a few songs, Christian songs that she had written about her own experiences, songs about how to survive suffering, songs about how to find strength when everything seems lost. The album was unexpectedly successful, not just among Christian audiences, but beyond. People connected with Zsófia's voice because they felt the honesty in it. They felt that this woman knew what she was singing about. In the following 2 years, Zsófia released several more albums. She held concerts throughout the country. People loved her. They said she was the authentic representative of Christian music in Hungary. But Zsófia never spoke publicly about what nourished her singing. She never told her story. When reporters asked about her past, Zsófia only said, "By God's grace, I became who I am." At 28, Zsófia met Tamás. Tamás was in the audience at one of her concerts. Afterward, he came up to Zsófia and told her it was the most beautiful performance he had ever heard. Tamás was a simple man. He worked as a foreman at a construction company. But there was something honest about him that appealed to Zsófia. Tamás and Zsófia got to know each other slowly. Tamás knew that Zsófia was a single mother, and he never treated this as a problem. In fact, he loved Marton. He played with him for hours, told him stories, taught him to play football. Zsófia was initially afraid to fall in love again. She feared the same thing would happen as with Péter. But Tamás was different. Tamás never tried to control Zsófia. He never told her what to do. He supported her singing, was proud of her successes. Zsófia and Tamás married after 2 years. This time they had a big wedding, because Zsófia already had many friends and admirers. At the wedding, Zsófia sang a song she had written for Tamás. Everyone cried when they heard it. After the marriage, Zsófia's career continued to soar. She was known not only in Hungary, but also abroad. She performed at Christian festivals throughout Europe. An American record label was also interested in her. But then something happened that changed everything. At 30, Zsófia received a phone call from Pastor Ferenc, her father, whom she hadn't spoken to in 17 years. Ferenc told Zsófia that he had seen her on television and was proud of her. He said he would like them to reconnect. Ferenc said he no longer drank, had found God again, and wanted to repair his relationship with his daughter. Zsófia didn't know what to say. For 18 years, she had tried to forget her father. Now he simply called her as if nothing had happened. Ferenc told Zsófia he wanted to meet her and Marton. He wanted to get to know his grandson. He promised he had changed and would never hurt anyone again. Zsófia told Ferenc she wanted to think about it. Zsófia couldn't sleep for weeks after the call. She talked about it with Tamás, with her mother, with her pastor. Everyone told her something different. Tamás said Zsófia should decide for herself what she wanted to do, and he would support her. Erzsébet said to be careful, because Ferenc had left them once and could do it again. The pastor said that forgiveness was a Christian duty, but she didn't have to let someone else's sin harm her again. Zsófia finally decided she would meet Ferenc, but only once, and only in a public place. The meeting was at a Budapest cafe. Ferenc had changed a lot. He had grown older, gray-haired, thin, but there was still something in his eyes that Zsófia had feared as a child. Ferenc told Zsófia he was sorry for what he had done. He said he had been an alcoholic, and while that wasn't an excuse, it was at least an explanation. He said he was clean now, hadn't drunk in 5 years, and wanted to be a good father and grandfather. Ferenc asked Zsófia about her career, her singing. He said he was proud that she was his daughter and had become so talented. He said he wanted to be part of her life. Zsófia listened to Ferenc but felt nothing. Not anger, not happiness, nothing. She just sat there looking at this man who had once been her father, but was now just a stranger. Zsófia told Ferenc she was glad he had changed, but didn't know if there was room for him in her life. She said she needed time to think it through. Ferenc understood. He gave Zsófia his phone number and said when she was ready, she could call him. Zsófia went home and told Tamás how the meeting had gone. Tamás asked her what she felt now. Zsófia said nothing, and that bothered her. Zsófia thought she should be angry at Ferenc, or happy that he had returned, but she felt nothing, as if part of her heart had died years ago. In the following months, Zsófia tried to process the meeting, but something had changed in her. Her singing became less honest. Her songs became less deep. People noticed that something was missing from Zsófia's performances. After one concert, a woman came up to Zsófia and said she felt something was wrong. She asked if there was something Zsófia needed to talk about. That's when Zsófia decided to tell everything. Not publicly, not to the media, but to friends she trusted. She told them how she had grown up. She told them what had happened with Peter, and she told them what she felt since Ferenc had returned to her life. Her friends listened to Zsófia's story and helped her understand that what she was feeling was normal. They helped her realize that she wasn't obligated to forgive Ferenc just because he asked. They helped her understand that her own emotional safety was more important than anyone else's expectations. Zsófia decided not to contact Ferenc again, but she also decided not to let all this make her bitter. Instead, she would use her experiences to help others. At 31, Zsófia founded the New Beginning Foundation, which helps women who want to escape abusive relationships. The foundation provides financial support, legal help, and psychological support to women who need to leave anywhere. Zsófia also began speaking more openly about her own story. She didn't tell every detail, but she said she was also a survivor of domestic violence and how it had shaped her singing. People loved Zsófia even more after she shared her story, not because they pitied her, but because they saw strength in her. They saw that it was possible to survive abuse and live a normal, happy life. At 33, Zsófia's second child, Hanna, was born. Tamás was a wonderful father to both Márton and Hanna. He never made any distinction between them, even though Márton wasn't his biological son. Zsófia's family life was happy, but problems began to emerge in her career. At 34, Zsófia released an album that included secular songs alongside Christian ones. Some songs were about love, some about motherhood, and some simply about how good it is to live. Part of the Christian audience was not satisfied with this. They said Zsófia had betrayed her faith. They said a Christian singer should only sing sacred songs. Zsófia tried to explain that faith was part of her entire life, not just when she sang about God. But some people didn't understand this. The criticism hurt Zsófia, but it didn't stop her. She continued to sing about what was important to her. She continued to help others through her foundation. She continued to try to stay true to herself. At 35, Zsófia received news that shook her. Pastor Ferenc had died of a heart attack. Zsófia didn't know what to feel. She wasn't sad, but she wasn't happy either. She just felt that a chapter had closed in her life. Zsófia went to Ferenc's funeral, not because she wanted to, but because she felt it was proper. Many people were at the funeral. Ferenc had served as pastor at another congregation in recent years, and many people loved him. At the funeral, people told Zsófia what a good man Ferenc had been, how much he had helped others, what wise advice he had given. Zsófia listened to these stories and realized something. Ferenc really had changed. He really had become a better person in recent years. But that didn't change what he had done before. And Zsófia had the right to decide that she didn't want to make him part of her life. After the funeral, Zsófia went home and wrote a song. Not about Ferenc, but about how to let go of those who hurt us. How to move forward without becoming bitter. This song became Zsófia's biggest hit. Millions listened to it worldwide. She received letters from people who wrote that this song had helped them overcome their own traumas. Today, Zsófia is 38 years old. She still sings, still runs her foundation. Marton is 15, Hanna is 5. She has a happy family with Tamás. But there is something Zsófia has never told anyone, something that still haunts her. When Zsófia was a child and saw Ferenc abusing Erzsébet, she once almost did something she was never proud of. One evening, when Ferenc was sleeping drunkenly on the couch, Zsófia took the kitchen knife from the drawer. She stood over Ferenc and just looked at him. She thought that if she killed her father, her mother would be safe. Zsófia stood over Ferenc for 10 minutes with the knife in her hand. Finally, she put it back in the kitchen and returned to her room. But for years, she dreamed about what would have happened if she hadn't put that knife back. Zsófia never spoke about this to anyone, not even to Tamás. She was too ashamed that a 10-year-old child could think of such a thing. But this memory is what gives the greatest strength to Zsófia's singing. Because Zsófia knows that everyone struggles with dark thoughts. Everyone carries something inside them that they're not proud of. And in Zsófia's voice is that understanding and compassion that only someone who has walked in darkness can feel. Zsófia's story shows that our past shapes us, but doesn't determine who we become. Zsófia survived domestic violence, survived an abusive marriage, and survived a complicated relationship with her father. Today, Zsófia is a strong, happy woman who helps others overcome their own traumas. In her voice is all the pain she experienced, but also all the joy she found. Zsófia's story is not just a singer's story, it's a survivor's story. Someone who learned how past pain can become future strength. And perhaps this is the most important message you can hear in Zsófia's voice, that there is no darkness from which you cannot escape. There is no pain that must define us forever. And there is no past that means we don't deserve happiness. Zsófia still sings today. And when she sings, everyone hears in her voice what she herself experienced. That even in the hardest times, there can be hope. That even from the deepest pain, there can be healing. And that there is always, always a chance for a new beginning. If you enjoyed this story, like the video and subscribe for more similar content. Help us so more people can hear these important stories that show it's never too late to overcome the past and start a new life.